read my mind. Okay, so we finished with the 19th verse last week. Deepa, would you read it in English to catch me up where we are, and then we'll start with the 20th verse.
Sure. The 19th verse is, as sun, I give heat. I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and also death, both existence and non-existence, O Arjuna.
Yes, so again, we've talking about the essence of everything in this world is Krishna. So it is, this is all the language of poetry, of imagery. It means just like the sun would not be the sun without the heat, the water would not be the water without the wetness, etc. So the idea here is, what is the very substance, the material out of which of all phenomenon is made? So the classic imagery that we get in Vedanta is mud and pots. We say clay. So the bowl, the vase, the cup, the pot, they're all made out of clay. The lump of clay, all of it is just clay. So what is there is clay. What's the difference between vase, pot, cup, bowl, etc.? What we call nama rupa, name and form. All superimpositions. Now, this becomes easy to understand if we go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream. So in the dream state, you have a dream body. And you have a locus of perception. You peep out of the senses of that dream body. And you have a dream ego. I think I'm that dream body. And you have a world of nama, rupa, name and form outside. And you have a world of thoughts and feelings inside. But what's the material cause, the stuff, the goop, out of which you've made it all? Just the fabric of your mind. You didn't make the dream body out of anything any differently than, say, you made the dream car. Or the dream fear is made out of the same stuff as the dream tree. It's all just the stuff of the mind. Yoga says all this is no different. The world isn't made the way a potter makes a pot. The world is imagined. So Krishna is the very substance of everything. You can say that. Any thoughts on this? If you don't want to be theistic, you can just say awareness, consciousness. I want to pause here. I don't know if we've recently gone through what we call the 4 Mahavakyas, the 4 great utterances, the great statements that encapsulate the essence of this teaching. They're important to know. First one, each one of these, by the way, comes from one of the 4 Vedas and from one of the Upanishads, from one of those 4 Vedas. First one, Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness, meaning the ground of being. God is consciousness. Not like the statue, a being with arms and legs, or the Christian God, not an old man in the sky with a long beard. God is consciousness. Where is it? Oh, it's way out there someplace. Never be able to reach it. Wholly other. No! Yoga says, number 2, I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahma. Who sees the phone? Do you see the phone? Yes?
Yes.
Who sees the phone?
I do. Okay.
That's yourself. It's not. My problem is I've superimposed on that self this deeply rooted belief that I'm the body. So the third great utterance, Mahavakya, we call the Upadesha Mahavakya. Upadesha means to teach something. It's the instructional Mahavakya. So all the various practices of yoga, of spirituality, are all contained in that. It means you are that, Tattvamasi, that thou art, sometimes it's said. But just like we did in the meditation, I am not the body, I am not the energy, I'm not the mind, I am not the thoughts, I'm not the subtle ego sense, I'm not even the unconsciousness of deep sleep. What am I? I am that pure awareness. And if you grasp this, if you get it as a direct experience, the fourth Mahavakya doesn't say, Aham Mahatma, I'm a great saint. It says, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman. So the yogi grasps that the self in me and Brahman, the ground of being of the whole creation, they are the same thing. This is the point that Krishna is driving at. Any thoughts on this? Okay, number 20.
Jim, these are long verses and they're 2 together.
That's fine.
Sorry. I lost my page. My apologies. Give me a second. Okay. Trevidyamam somapa puta papa yagye rishtva sarvagatam prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra loka mashnanti divyan divi deva bhogan te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam shine punye martya lokam vishanti evam trayi dharma manupnapanna gata gatam kama kama labhante.
Excellent. You got the meter change. Great. And the English?
The knowers of the 3 Vedas, the drinkers of Soma, purified from sin, worshipping me by sacrifices, pray for the way to heaven. They reach the holy world of the Lord of the gods and enjoy in heaven the divine pleasures of the gods. They, having enjoyed the vast heaven world, when their merits are exhausted, enter the world of the mortals, thus abiding by the injunctions of the 3 Vedas, desiring desires, they attain to the state of going and returning, in parentheses, samsara.
So this is all mystic symbolism. And what it's talking about is what happens to the person, going back to verses we had earlier. who do Deva Yajna, sacrifice to the gods. Again, I think I told you the story about the gal who came to visit a couple weeks ago. She was a student with me for some time, but she's been living in LA. And I said, well, have you been working with someone? And she said, well, my uncle is a guru and he gave me some mantras. And I said, well, what were they? Can you share them? So, well, one was a mantra for wealth. Another one was for peace of mind. Another one was for prosperity. Or I think it was to get married. I think the third one. Nothing wrong with this. But these are rituals, mantras, prayers that we do to get stuff. It's not much different than in our Western Judeo-Christian traditions. Oh God, please let me pass this test. Oh God, let me get this job. Oh God, help me find a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife. When we pray for stuff, so that's how many of us approach God. This we call Deva Yajna. Deva here means the demigods or the gods, and it means the presiding principle over any field of human endeavor. So, Arjun, do you write code? Are you a software engineer?
No, not. I'm a manager. So
You're a manager.
product manager.
Product manager. So you do worship the management god. I think he's Kabira, isn't he?
Kabila is the word of God,
Yeah. So he's all the department heads.
Yes.
In Swarga, see. So and you write code though, don't you? Yeah. So I don't know, is Ganesh, is he the presiding deity for writing code? I have no idea.
I don't think the department was there yet.
Oh.
He used to be the processing one though. He was the one who wrote the
Yeah. But he's kind of a catch-all for stuff.
Yes.
But and of course you're a speech therapist. I don't know who's Vach. Who is it? Who's the presiding deity for Vach?
Sanskrit. Sanskrit.
So we have all these various deities. In the Western tradition, we have something very close. We find it in Catholicism, not so much in the Protestant traditions. And it's the cult of saints. So each saint is kind of like a department head in heaven. And we have what we call the doctrine of intercession. So you pray to the saint talks to Mary, Mary talks to Jesus, Jesus talks to God. That's how you get stuff done in the bureaucracy of heaven. So if you've lost your keys, Saint Anthony, please come round. I seem to have lost my keys. I know they can be found. Or whatever it is that you've lost. Or I don't know if you've seen the commercial on TV about St. Jude Hospital for children with cancer and stuff. Have you ever seen that on TV? St. Jude is the patron saint of lost causes. Harmony. Have another deity you can propitiate. Saint Cecilia. You know who she is? She's the patron saint of musicians. Same idea. Same idea. These are the Christian demigods. So we propitiate these gods to get what we want. But Krishna's going to say, but there's a higher way to pray. There's a higher way to worship. We say, those who worship me, come to me. So you've heard me talk about it. If you go G-O-D, you think you believe in God. What most of us do, we have to take that word and go, and then we take another O, put it in there. G-O-O-D. What you really worship is your idea of the good. You think money is the most important thing, that's your good. That's your God. You think a relationship is the most important thing, that's your good. That's your God. Krishna's going to say, see that extra O? If you're a Jew, first commandment, the Shema, any of you know the Shema? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord God is one, the Lord alone. First commandment, love God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength. That's what Krishna's pointing us. So with this in mind, let's go through this verse, these two verses. So read the first idea, please, again, Deepa, in English.
The knowers of the three Vedas. Do you want me to go on?
Yeah, that's fine.
The knowers of the three Vedas, the drinkers of Soma.
Okay, that's fine. I get why. So understand the Vedas. The Vedas, there are four. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Atharva Veda, Sam Veda. The Vedas themselves are divided, some scholars divide them into three sections, others into four. First section is the mantra portion. So, for example, when I went to your wedding and the pujari, where did he find all those chants that he was doing? In the Vedas. So these are the various chants that we do, the hymns that we do. About the only one I knew could chant along with them was the Triyambakam. Yeah. Then we have the Brahmanas, which are rubrics. They're the rules. So he's supposed to sit here, he puts the ghee there on the fire, this particular one takes 2 priests, etc., like that. So the rules of how to do the sacrifices. Third section and or the fourth section is called the Aranyakas, literally forest literature. And in that, or sometimes as a fourth section, are the Upanishads. Upanishad means to sit down near. And that is to investigate the nature of the self. Subject matter of the Upanishads is always what's the nature of the self, what is the nature of ultimate reality, what's the relationship. So here when he says the knowers of the Vedas, he's talking about what we call the karma kanda, the action portion of the Vedas. Now, Soma. Before ayahuasca, there was Soma. Before Mescalito, there was Soma. We don't really know what Soma is. We have an idea that it was probably a hallucinogenic plant coming from what's now like Kazakhstan or someplace there. And Soma is associated with nectar. And what's interesting is you have this idea both in all of the Indo-European languages. So the drink of the gods bestows immortality. So what's the word we have for immortality in Sanskrit? You kids know. Word for immortality? Amritam. What's the word for nectar? I can't hear you.
Amrita.
Same word. It's the drink of the gods that bestows immortality. Now, this is very cool. Deepa found this out for me when we had dinner the other night. So the English word nectar comes from the Greek. First part is neck, N-E-K. Greek root. Means death or destruction. It's where we get words like necropolis, necromancy, necrophilia, necropsy. I think the word narcotic actually comes from the same root. Tar was to go beyond. Was that right, Deepa?
Yeah, to cross beyond.
To cross beyond. So it has the same meaning as Amritam. Nectar means to cross beyond death. Isn't that interesting? Probably going back to Soma. The strength, the idea that there is something, and this is all poetry, that will bestow immortality, the drink of the gods that'll let you live forever. Stuff in the Vedas. Next idea. The Vedas, the Soma.
Purified from sin.
Okay, so what happens for people who do ritual? So if in your home you have homa, you do the Agnihotra, you do the fire sacrifice. What does that do? It gets rid of sin. If you're ritually impure and you accrue punya, merit. So if you get rid of your sins and you accrue merit, not much different than the Catholic idea of baptism, confession and absolution. Read a novel, I'm just reading The Three Musketeers and the sequel 20 years after. And this fellow's dying. What's he want to do? He wants a priest to come so he can confess and get absolution so that he can go to heaven. Same idea in Hinduism. If you do these rituals, you get rid of your sin, papam, and you accrue merit. This is the idea. Next idea.
Worshipping me by sacrifices.
So they worship by sacrifice, doing these rituals. Even worshiping Krishna by doing ritual. What happens to them? Next idea.
Pray for the way to heaven.
So they pray for Swarga, the way to heaven, the place of super sensuous experience. Now, in the Judeo-Christian tradition, for finite actions, you get an infinite result, heaven or hell. In yoga, finite actions produce a finite experience. Swarga or heaven is temporary. Now we're going to go into the symbolism of all this later, but I want you to get all the pieces of it. So they pray to go to heaven. What happens next? Next idea.
They reach the holy world of the Lord of the gods and enjoy in heaven the divine pleasures of the gods.
So they go to a super sensuous realm. It's funny how people think of this. So if you're a Muslim, you have your 72 virgins. If you're a Christian, the idea is you go to heaven and you get to be with Jesus, and the streets are paved with gold, and you see Aunt Mary and Uncle Joe and all that sort of stuff. This is the idea. There's some super sensuous place. Next idea.
This is the next verse.
Yeah.
They, having enjoyed the vast heaven world, when their merits are exhausted, enter the world of the mortals. Thus, abiding by the injunctions of the three Vedas, desires, they attain to the state of going and returning.
So, what is this really about? What it's really about is the people who think that going for the stuff of this world is going to make them happy. So what do? I have my deva, my God, whatever it may be. So we'll let the prayer stone here be the job, the promotion, the house, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, whatever it is I want. That's my good, which is what my God really is. So I do the sacrifice, the puja, the yajna, in order to get it. If it's to get a promotion, I work really hard. If it's to get an education, I go to school. If it's to get married, I go on shadi.com. If I'm a Westerner, I go to Tinder, Match.com, whatever it is. If I want to get rich, I invest in Bitcoin. Whatever I think is going to make me happy. So what I do, I get to determine what's going to make me happy. That condition is called priya. Priya in Sanskrit means dear. I decide that it's dear to me. Then I get proximate to my situation that I think is going to make me happy. The person, place, then their situation. I earn it. I build it. I work for it. I date it. I buy it. Whatever it is. That's called mola. Desire and the object of desire become one when I get it. Oh, yeah. Pramoda. The point of pleasure. And in my ignorance, I think that's where the juice is. I needed to go. Now, if you earn it, if you marry it, if you build it, if you move into it, guess what's going to happen? It's always temporary. Now, these two have just been married. I have news for you. All marriages end in death or divorce. Think. If you're lucky, you both get hit by the same bus at the same time. Otherwise, one of you is going to go through grief. Oh, I met this boy. I met this girl. They're so hot. Well, do you want a hot partner or do you want a long-term relationship? They are mutually exclusive. oh, that boy's so hot. He's 30 years old. He's so trim and slim. What's he going to look like in 60 years? That's what you have to look forward to. Think. Got a brand new car. Tesla. That happens to every new car. I was online. For some reason, they're now posting classic cars on my Facebook page. Why do they do that? I don't know how they figure out I'm into old cars. He works for Facebook. Do you know how they do that?
It's a very long explanation.
Okay. Anyway, so sure enough, a 1960 Austin Healey Sprite shows up. I had a 59 Austin Healey Sprite. It was a new car when I got it. My first car. Guess where it is now? Run. Everything is temporary. So when we go to the realm of enjoyment, we call that swarga, heaven, realm of sensuality. And if we have punya, merit, meaning if I've done things well, it'll last for a while. But it's always temporary. And then when our punya is exhausted, we're thrown back into the human realm. What's the human realm? Now, we may not. We may get thrown into the realm of the hungry ghosts. Those rotten SOBs, how could they do that to me? I thought I did a good job. They fired me, or they took this away, or I didn't get my raise. And then we get angry and bitter and regretful. None of you have ever been in that state, have you? That's the realm of the hungry ghosts. Very painful. But eventually we get back to being human. We're reborn again as human. The whole process starts over again. So what these two verses are about is not ritual sacrifice and cosmology. It's about your life and my life. Nothing wrong with the world. Nothing wrong with being successful in the world. But if that's your God, you work really hard, you'll get to go to Swarga, you'll enjoy the fruits of your merit, your punya, for a finite time. Then when your punya is exhausted, need a new job, gotta get a new house, need to get a new husband, new relationship, new home, new car. Does this sound familiar? It's the word. So that's the dynamic that Krishna is talking about, or Vyasa, our poet, is talking about in the mouth of Krishna. This human realm of what we call bhoga. Two kinds of people in the world, bhogis and yogis. They both want happiness. A bhogi who practices enjoyment, bhoga, it's happiness. That person tries to become happy by satisfying as many desires as possible. It was all. Swamiji used to say, if sex were satisfying, you'd only do it once. Who's ever had enough money? Or subtler things. Who's ever had enough validation and praise? Who's ever had enough attention? A yogi also wants happiness. But understanding what these two verses are talking about. A yogi lives a way of life that reduces the number of desires entertained. Why? Let's go back. Priya, Moda, Pramoda. What's really happening at that point of pleasure is for a moment, the mind is freed from craving, from attachment. So many lovely Sanskrit words to describe it. Kama is the most common, usually translated as desire, but it's stronger than the English word. I like to translate it as craving. Vancha, wanting. Spra, longing. The Buddhists like this one, Krishna, thirsting. What does it feel like to want something you don't have? It sucks. The more I want it, the further away it seems to be, the more it hurts. When I get what I want, when I get the boyfriend, get the girlfriend, get the spouse, get the job, get the house, desire and object of desire become one. What really happens is for a moment, the craving goes away. Happiness is not in the person, place, thing, or situation. The happiness, the peace, the joy is by self-nature. I just used the worldly experience to get my mind to stop. Now, I can prove it to you. Because everybody experiences this completely at night in deep sleep. Everybody loves a deep sleep. What object, what person, what situation causes the bliss of deep sleep? It's the absence of the troubled mind, the absence of craving, the absence of anxiety. And the more problematic your life is, the more you love sleep. Isn't that? And if you can't sleep, oh God, my mind was racing. I was up all night. I just couldn't sleep. I feel like a wreck. We crave sleep, where we have the kiss of the bliss of the self. Now, what yoga says is, you can have happiness without being unconscious, deep sleep, and without having to get all the cash and prizes of life. Because the cause of the problem is not the lack of stuff, it's the craving. Learn to let go of the anxiety, of the craving, of the worry, of the control issues, of the vancha, the wanting, the spriha, the longing, the Krishna, the thirsty. The mind come home to the self. This is why we teach vairagya, detachment. It's practical. So I talk about the cosmic teeter-totter, the psychological teeter-totter. Attachment, detachment, peace of mind. So the more attachment, the more control issues, the more anxiety, the more I want. The less peace. Wait, I did it backwards. You should go this way. The less peace I have. The more I let go. You decide. So these two verses explain the path of the bhogi. Don't go hit the candy jar in the midst of satsang. Wait after it. Becomes a distraction. Your mind doesn't want to hear this. It's what it is. It wants to fix the feeling. That's what happens. All right. Next verse, please.
Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. To those men who worship me alone, thinking of no other, to those ever self-controlled, I secure for them that which is not already possessed by them, and preserve for them what they already possess.
So in contrast to the bhogi, who's doing deva yajna, pursuing the people, places, things, and conditions of the world, who at best will get swarga, temporary pleasure, and then thrown back again into the world of wanting. Krishna says, those who worship me, who seek me, who come to me, that's not some God out there. It means yourself. When Krishna talks about himself, he's talking about yourself. So those who have learned this trick of retiring into the self, who can practice Atmaramana, this reveling in the self. What the Sufis say, oh, that person has the taste. Then he uses two very interesting words, yoga and kshema. I secure for them. And they retain what they want. Some people think this means, oh, this is good yoga. Means I'm going to hit all the green lights of life. This is like manifesting. I'm going to get the car. I'm going to get the house. going to get the bank account. Yoga, shame. What it means is you're going to get that which all these things would have given you. Let's say you really want a relationship. You get the relationship, what's that going to make you feel? Happy. You want the happiness, really. You want a fulfilling job. Okay, if you get the fulfilling job, how's it going to make you feel? Happy. Okay, that happiness is what you want. Oh, we want to buy a house. It's going to be so cool to have our own house. What will you feel like when you get your own house? Happy. All of these are the means by which you get to experience the joy, the bliss of your own self-nature. Now, for the yogi who has learned that trick of being able to let go, surrender, come home, even when, I didn't say if, the objects pass away, I haven't lost anything. This is great stuff. You have it, you can't lose it. You know why? Because wherever you go, there you are. And in terms of reveling in the self, it's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. It won't rot your liver. It can't be abused. You don't have to look your best. And it isn't fattening. There are no deleterious effects. It's what the human heart wants. We're looking for what is it that will satisfy me in this world. In the great cosmic joke, what we're looking for, we're looking with. Anybody have any thoughts on this? Any questions? All right, next verse.
येऽप्यन्य देवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्विताः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय yajantya vidhipurvakam. Even those devotees who, endowed with faith, worship other gods, worship me alone, O son of Kunti, but by the wrong method.
So this is another great secret. In our early practice, the literature says, give up your attachment to worldly enjoyments and seek the infinite. You've all heard or seen that in some form or another. Well, I have news for you. There is no such thing as worldly enjoyment. It doesn't exist. Only the self is the source of all joy. There are those who enjoy the self. With knowledge, I know what I'm doing. And there are those who enjoy the bliss of the self in ignorance, which causes them to be bound to the objects. So let's go back to our paradigm. Remember, Priya, I think the object, the widget, is dear. I figured that out. What's dear to you is not going to be dear to you, is not going to be dear to you. Then I become proximate to the object of desire, moda. Then there's the point of pleasure, when desire and object of desire become one, pramoda. The fool thinks, oh man, that's widgets. That's where it's at. I'm going to get a dozen of them. I want more widgets because that's where the joy is. The yogi, desire arises in her bosom. Desire for widgets. Oh, widgets, all right. Ah, widgets. Oh, I want to dance with the widgets. Because of the force of my past, I know, I think the widgets are dear. Just Leela, play. Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Desire and object of desire become one. Oh, wow. That stopped my mind. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Own your own ananda. Your own bliss. It's not in the object. You just use the object to experience the bliss of your self-nature. Wonderful way to prove this. Fang and I were talking about this the other night. Is it your grandmother who likes Chinese opera?
Mhm.
Have any of you listened to Chinese opera? To me, it's like nails on a blackboard. It's just the most unattractive sound you could imagine. But I bet your grandmother loves it. For her, Priya, Moda, Pramoda. For me, no Priya. But when she hears a Chinese opera, she really enjoys it. When I go hear Tosca at San Francisco Opera, I love it. For you, it's probably heavy metal. For you, it's Karnataka music. For you, it's what Amity sings, right? Different for each of us. But when we hear the music we love, Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Everyone is worshiping the self, Krishna. They just don't know it. And they do it by the wrong method, meaning they attribute the happiness to the object, which binds me to it. It makes me want to repeat that experience. I form an addictive relationship with the world, which increases my suffering. Now, there is a practice that's implied in this teaching. It starts with what we call sakshi bhav. Bhava means an attitude. So you take on the attitude of the witness. Watch your mind. You want to live in the higher intellect and observe what your mind is doing. Not only in meditation, but as you're functioning through the world. Notice when you're one. You're like me. It's so boring. And it's so repetitive. When I'm disturbed, when I'm annoyed, when life isn't behaving. Who had a moment like that this week? Tell me this is the first time you felt it. Same feeling, just the stupid situations keep repeating. Isn't that your life? Someone else could have the same circumstances. Doesn't bother me. It's the desiring that's so painful. Many of you have heard me say this before. When I was doing my sadhana in the ashram, I used to call my mind Buddha. Who knows what Buddha means?
Food.
Stupid. Want it again. And the more I want it, and the more distant the object of desire is, the more it hurts. So that's the one thing you want to watch. Probably won't be able to do much about it yet. Just watch it. Then pay attention to what I call a point of pleasure. Jim, are you saying that an ice cream cone, success at work, hearing great music, making love is the same? What it does to my mind is the same. It will vary in intensity and it will vary in duration, depending on how easily I'm able to acquire it, how badly I want it, how long it sticks around. I get confused because of the diversity of sense experience, the seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. Notice what it feels like at the point of pleasure. It's a taste of yourself. You have to make friends with that. You have to see what's going on. You have to be woke AF. You have to be conscious enough to see when the mind goes out, it hurts. When it comes home. Now, we've all experienced this. Any of you ever been on your way to work or to an appointment and you're caught in traffic in your car? Gripping the wheel, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be like, oh, yeah, SOB, go faster, go faster, go faster. You know that feeling? It sucks. And then you finally realize there's nothing I can do. And you go, I'll get there when I get there. You had that experience? Yes? You're all so quiet. Were you asleep?
Yes.
Yes. What happened? You let go of the vancha. and it quit hurting. This is not woo-woo. This is practical. You have a deadline at the office. You're supposed to have a project done by a certain date. You work your butt off to meet the deadline. And you're very clear, it ain't gonna happen. Being upset, being worried, wringing your hands does nothing. Be solution oriented and let it go. That doesn't mean let go of your desire. And that's the wrong language. Let go of your duty to accomplish the task. Work, strive for excellence always. But there's no need to get disturbed about it. It doesn't accomplish anything. Doesn't accomplish. Watch the wanting, watch the point of pleasure. Everybody's worshiping Krishna, except they don't know it. And they do it by the wrong means. Because there's no such thing as worldly pleasure. The world isn't good. The world isn't bad. The names and forms are essentially shunyata, void. I attribute the joy-giving or misery-producing qualities. And if I believe it, if I'm attached to it, or I want miserable life. Deva Yajna. I want. Krishna. You choose. All right, one more.
Oh,
Question. Okay.
I just had a thought, just from the perspective of practicing this and being practical. One thing that I find that a lot of people have similar experiences with are their New Year's resolutions. And when they create that goal, a lot of people who say, oh, I want this new car as my New Year's resolution often find a lot of trouble accomplishing that or feeling like they're accomplishing it. But I've heard a lot of advice from people in general that the more general your goals are, like let's say this year I want to read more books. Instead of saying I want to read 20 books, I just say read more. It's easier for me to feel accomplished that way.
That's exchanging a jail made of iron for a jail made of silver or gold. You're still caught up thinking, getting what I want is what it's about. But the satisfaction of goals is what's going to make me happy. You can accomplish goals. Like I say, it's of value to always strive for excellence. My friend Tejo Mayananda says this: the foolish person doesn't take life seriously. The intelligent person takes life seriously. But the wise person seriously doesn't take life seriously. Wear your life like a loose garment. Enjoy the journey. When the Lord brings you things, enjoy. Know that the enjoyment is Krishna, is the Lord. And if they're taken away, no problem. Self is still here. So, get out of the dream. All right, this is a good place to stop there. Any other questions? For those of you who are new, this is deep stuff and it's absolutely contrary to a Western view of life, where we're taught we're going to take a U-Haul to the graveyard and the one with the most stuff wins. Yoga says, how's that working out for you? All right, we'll end here then. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all.